Okay, Karen Lovely here. That was like, oh my gosh. You know, if people tell you that going for your every dream and desire is easy and it's a cakewalk, they're lying through their teeth. That's crap on a cracker. Although you don't want to emphasize that so much, is that it is, in reality, there are a lot of hard choices to be made as we go for our dreams in life. And we're talking sacrifices. And one famous person or celebrity or, Olympic athlete, executives, they'll tell you what it took to get where they are. Now, it is so mind-blowingly worth it, but all along the way, this is why most people won't make it, and why I didn't make it early on in childhood riding horses, is I couldn't sustain the training and the pain of failing, the pain of failure. I couldn't do it, even though I was extremely talented and almost like a prodigy as an equestrian. Starting at the age of 7, I had my own drive and determination and motivation. I did everything by myself. My mother never had to tell me to go to training, to go to my horseback riding lessons. And I was just a kid going by myself because I could walk onto the next estate, and show up for my horseback riding lessons. But I was not able to sustain the pain and the anguish of failing, especially in competition. That's what broke me down, the competition, and failing in front of all the other people watching as we get to see the other competitors succeeding, and then comparing myself to all those people, including I was competing against my teacher. And I failed miserably in that I couldn't get my horse over the jump, the first jump, none of the jumps. I was disqualified. I defaulted. And so, the thing that I want to talk about today that is so massively important and imperative in going for our dreams is that we actually need to take a step back and relive in our mind, in our imagination, the successes all along the way. And I need to explain to you why they go out of existence or we forget entirely about them, which I live every single day. My brain, by default, the human brain focuses on what's not working, the negative, the what's not enough, what looks like a perceived failure at a certain degree. The perfect example is I live on my working horse ranch. I see my horses living large. They are walking on lots and lots of land right before my eyes. I can see them every day from my desk, and you would think that logically I would say to myself, oh my gosh, look what I've created. I have these beautiful horses and they're just right in front of me, and oh, what a beautiful day. Look at the butterflies. Oh, is that a hummingbird? You would think that I would do that every single day, and then even say, oh my gosh, I think I'll go for a quick ride, and I'll just ride up the mountain and I'll overlook the beautiful city from above. No, that rarely, if ever, happens, because my brain is focusing on what's not working, what needs to be fixed. Oh my God, is that the fence? Oh my gosh, I got to fix that gate. Oh my gosh, is my cover to my car blowing in the wind? Crap, I don't have time to pick that up because I'm trying to create the content for my app. I constantly have to consciously remind myself of all the magic, and I mean magic, that I create. Yet why does my brain not focus on that? Because the human brain is hardwired to focus on impending doom, threats, danger, hence the news. This is why the news works. All the devastation, all the mass murders, and then the killing of, Nipsey Hussle. Like, are you serious? Like, what is going on? And this is why we have to, especially in the formal coaching process, I have to do this with clients. I have to remind them, as they're saying, oh gosh, I feel this, and oh no, this isn't working, and I can't, I don't know what to say here, to my husband or my business partner. And I have to remind and facilitate in the process of remembering the before and after, the before the coaching, the before the training, how life was and definitely was not, what wasn't working, where were all the drama, the crisis, the breakdowns. And then we have to go, oh yeah, this is how far I've come. So the brain will cancel that out because we have this amazing mechanism in our brain, the fear device, the amygdala. It's responsible for detecting anything that might be a threat to our life, to breathing and having a pulse. And so it is on high alert to detect anything that might be dangerous. And so this fear, fight or flight, and then there's in the dream process, in going for our conscious dreams and desires and obsessions, there's the fight, flight, or freeze. Freeze, procrastination, stopping, doing nothing, deer in the headlights phenomenon that will occur because underneath all of that, there's this fear of failure, the fear of not having it work out, the fear of not making the money, the fear of not having that significant other say, I love you back, the fear of rejection. It goes on and on and on. So when that fear, which is virtually unconscious and invisible, unless you're blatantly being murdered, that fear is invisible. It is hidden. And it will show up in symptoms, distraction, procrastination, anxiety, depression, mania, addiction. So it shows up and we don't even know it's there, but our brain does. And what happens is that fear, so insidious, so invisible and hidden, will actually stop this signal to the part of our brain that's responsible for rational, logical thinking, the prefrontal cortex. And so when that happens, there's like a block wall between fear and being logical. And so the fear supersedes and trumps and eclipses the logic. It has to for survival. We have to stay in that high alert. Oh my God, what if something bad happens? And the brain will do that. Otherwise, we'd all be dead. If we drive on the street, we'd all be dead if we didn't have this mechanism. But it doesn't know when to chillax. It doesn't know when to stop unless we consciously help it out. So that's what happens. There's no connection. They're two separate entities that have nothing to do with each other when we're in fear. And so we cannot be strong in our decision making, our critical thinking, our logical, rational thoughts. So that's what happens to me. I'm always in the fear of not enough. I'm in the fear of getting out my content to help, another person not commit suicide or live with depression and slowly kill themselves through addiction. I'm in the fear of not fulfilling my purpose and meaning before I'm dead. I'm in fear of these things that I think I have control over. And when my brain is like, oh my gosh, it's taking so long to get this content together and put the app together the way I want it and have all everything the way that is in alignment with my spiritual being, I'm in the fear of it not happening fast enough. I'm in the fear of the time running out. So if I'm riddled with that fear, and most of the time it's not blatant, obvious, right in front of my face, then my brain cancels out the rationality of looking at all the magic right in front of me that I have created, that is in 3D, an objective reality. What is in front of me? I can touch it. I can pet it. I can ride it, my horses, my vehicles, my real estate, everything in front of me. And a lot of it has shown up magically, miraculously from nothing but a thought, a dream, a perception, seeing it in front of my mind, envisioning it. That's how it's happened. And yet, if without the consciousness, the profound consciousness of me saying, okay, wait a second, are you focusing on not enough, in lack, destitution, need, or are you focusing on magic and what you have created? So that said, that's why this is vitally, vitally important. And I have one of the most profound human beings with me this morning. And yes, he is a former client of mine, so I might be a little biased, but I'm not, because he was that way before he came into coaching. And that's what actually had him qualify to be coached, is that he was already in physical reality showing the evidence of being exceptional, a strive for excellence, extraordinary, and doing what it takes to get where he wants to be. And so he is going to tell us from his point of view what it's been like in terms of forgetting about his massive successes and how hard it's been, but why it's worth it in his own words. And so this morning I'm honored to have with me one of my most Olympic-like clients on the planet, Kris Kolstad. Ta-da! Good morning, Kris.
Good morning, Karen.
How'd you like
Thanks
the introduction?
for the introduction. That was good. I appreciate that.
I just made that up. I didn't even have a script.
That was really nice of you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's going on? What did you hear in my amazing introduction? I'm tooting my own horn.
Several things. Mm-hmm. Number one, I think one of the biggest things is the pain of failure. Mm-hmm. I think a lot about, everyone goes through this at some level, and one thing that really sticks out to me is how others look and feel compared to their reality. So like what they actually show compared to how they're actually feeling on the inside, because that was me. When I first got into coaching, I was the guy who, you would see me on the outside, everything looked great. I would look super happy, but like inside I'm like searching, right? Mm-hmm. And when I wasn't working, that was what I was doing, was searching. Whether that be through business or through some sort of spiritual thing, to find what I thought was missing.
What do you think was missing?
Well, I would say one of the biggest things was that I was looking outside of myself for something to give me fulfillment. So obviously, as a young guy, I thought that it was business. I thought it was entrepreneurship. I thought it was, earning money. And what I've realized now is that the fulfillment comes from within. Mm-hmm. And from there, that's what we use to create from that flow state.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So what I'm hearing is you were searching. I witnessed it, but you were searching to feel successful within yourself, to feel worthy, to feel that you were enough, good enough, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And you were searching outside of yourself. You thought it was going to be through an entrepreneurial career, through way more money, yes? Mm-hmm. And also, isn't it true that you also thought hanging around all the movers and shakers at some level would also prove that you're somebody, yes?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it was like one of those things where I wanted to leverage that to put myself in a better position, which is all well and good, but I think the biggest piece I was missing is what you get from the coaching, which is, bringing that energy and that flow state, the higher vibration to the conversation, to actually have more of an impact, but also be somebody that others want to be around. Mm-hmm. So what happened was I became somebody who, because I was searching really hard. It became like I was trying to take from everybody. Mm. So I'd go in and say like, hey, how can I, get something from this interaction? Mm-hmm. And I could feel the vibration shift, and it took, honestly think it took having a conversation with you prior to coaching for me to really kind of take a step back and say like, hey, what am I doing here? And what's really going on? Which was something that I avoided actually taking a look at, was a deeper dive into myself. Mm-hmm. To realize like all of the traumas that I had and how they were holding me back, and I was in my own way. Mm. I hear that all the time, right? Get out of your own way, right? And it's like, oh yeah, it's super easy. But no, it's incredibly hard, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of pain, and at least that's been my experience. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm in a much better place now, having gone through that. And I want to continue that journey.
Right. And I must emphasize the thing, really what's happening is there's information that we just don't know. There's a disconnect. There's a huge gaping hole and gap between where we are, where we're standing, and where we see ourselves ultimately. And that's what was missing. It's that you didn't know what you couldn't see, that you didn't even know to look for. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's actually a huge part of like what I think was holding me back was my resistance and my feeling like I should be in a better spot. I should be doing X, Y, or Z, but I didn't know what I didn't know, and I can't fault myself for that. And that's something that I've really come to terms with and accepted. And I think that's really powerful in my daily, honestly, just my daily activities, being able to recognize that, hey, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got, and all I can do is that. And so if I fault myself for thinking I should be in another spot, well, that's not fair to me.
Right.
And that actually keeps me down, right? I put myself down, keep myself down because I tell myself those things, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I can't emphasize enough that what I've been teaching you is stuff you had no idea was even happening, that's what I had to get.
Yeah. Like, so there's a period, when I first came into coaching, of course, as a young guy, I think I know everything. And coming into coaching, I'm like, really how different can things get? Like, what ways can people form words that have such an impact on you that it will change your perception in such a drastic way? I'm like, maybe it changes a little. This is my thinking going into it, right? I'm like, yeah, maybe it changes me a little bit, but, I like Karen and I think it'll be really good. And, fast forward a year, like I am so mind blown. Every single time we have a call, it's like, I don't know. It's so much more profound than I ever thought it would ever be.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's surreal.
It really is.
Because that's how it's been for me, in my journey. It's so profound. Like you don't even have words to describe it. Because all of a sudden everything starts to make sense. Life makes sense. Our whole life looking backwards makes complete sense. And so I want to talk about, initially you came in. So go back, right? This is the before and after. Before, around the before part, is what had you choose? Well, I don't know that you blatantly chose me to be your coach. You didn't. We were just, you met me at a networking event, and so kind of describe with your words back then, what you were looking for in retrospect, and what was it? Yeah.
So, before, really, I was, and so I go to LA to an event, kid from Arkansas, just getting on a plane and going out to LA. No one in Arkansas thought that was a thing.
Right.
Until I went out there, with Cody, who's my business partner in real estate. So we go out there, and it's all about networking. And for us, it was all about, we want to become a familiar face to those people out there, so that we could become friends with everybody and have people to call on when we needed them. But really, we were looking for a mentor, some sort of guidance. And what I indirectly found through you was your ability to, you never sugarcoated anything. You always told it how it was. And that is something that, for me, when I was growing up and having coaches, that was how I had to have it. I had a coach when I was 13 for competitive baseball. We call it travel baseball or whatever. He was very much like that, and I really performed well with that. And so I guess something happened in my mind where I was like, hey, this is really, I like the way this is. I like having Karen around because, if you recall, I would call you and be like, yeah, Karen, well, I'm just, I got this problem, and like, you got a minute? Just wanted to see how things are going, and I would try to get like the free coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of sparked it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know what I was getting into,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how, it was just, I don't know. I guess, I don't know how I could have known, but
there was something. Your gut was saying there was something, right? And then you were trying to get free coaching. We were connecting. You would reach out, and of course I would reach back out, but I am a no BS type of person, especially being a coach. I was like, but I was always this way. Even if I weren't a coach, I was going to say something. And so I would actually hold you accountable, and I would call you on your stuff, which is the only
which
thing.
No one else was doing, by the way.
Right. Because, don't mention names, but you actually hired another coach before me. Didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And what happened there? Not to say it was worse, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were many. So in the coaching, the previous coach. There were many blocks that weren't talked about that stopped me from making significant progress with that individual as a coach.
Yeah.
And it wasn't any fault to that person. It was more so it was me not having taken a deep look into myself. And that's something that, I didn't know what I didn't know. And now I realize how significant that is.
Right. So often what we do, and I've made this mistake over and over again, you hired a coach in the industry, real estate sector, that you thought could help you. And he was a tell you what to do coach, wasn't he?
Correct.
Uh-huh. And I know him. I think he's amazing. I also know, where he might be stopped as well, because, it's in my practice and expertise, I can see through. In other words, he wasn't an unconscious unblocker type coach. He was a tell you what to do in order to succeed in real estate investing. And I had those coaches because I have a real estate background, investment real estate, still have an active real estate license. And I had coaches telling me what to do. But that's what most coaches do, is they tell you what to do. But if you're blocked in doing it, isn't that a problem? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was happening, wasn't it? And
yeah.
It was you and your business partner hired him. And the two of you were blocked because he would tell you what to do. And right? He was telling you what to do, but then what happened?
It became, I would say there was a lot of, fear going on and a lot of blocks that stopped me from actually doing the things that were being asked.
Exactly. And that's what we do. Could you imagine how easy it would be, how life would be if we could just tell people, you know what, don't kill anyone right now because it's kind of like bad mojo, so I would kind of get rid of the guns and kind of chillax, Could you imagine? In the U.S. we have an obesity problem. Could you imagine how great it would be? It's like, okay, you know what? You might not want to be eating fast food like 3 to 5 times a week, and maybe hit the gym, do a little cardio, some strength training, Wouldn't that be great? Oh my God, that'd be awesome. Oh, and by the way, I was a fitness trainer trying to tell my clients what to do. When they're coming in crying because their husband is a jerk and there's like this domestic violence, emotional abuse thing going on, I couldn't tell her what to do. I could say, okay, leave him. Okay, easier said than done. You're married, you have assets together. And that's what actually had me stop. I couldn't shift my clients' minds. I had no power or tools to help my client not cry every session. Her body looked great. She could do the exercises, but I was completely lost. And that's why I am where I am today. is that without the mind and connected to the heart and passion, we're screwed, and not in the good way. And so, again, at some level, it didn't work because the coach that you thought you needed to hire, you see this, you weren't ready for, and it wasn't the ideal match at the time. Is that how we could kind of look at it, or how would you say it?
Yeah, no, I would definitely say that that's very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've been realizing here recently, and looking back on that situation in particular, is one of those things where it was too good to be true in my mind.
Yeah.
So I had to sabotage it. I had to cut it off. I had to not do the work, because
exactly.
I wasn't responsible and accountable enough to do that.
Yeah, because you didn't know. I mean, the words you're using now, you didn't even have those words to use.
Yeah.
You never spoke like this when I met you, because I did. I talk with you. Now, granted, you keep saying you're young. Yes, biologically, we would say yes. Early 20s. Okay, good. But you're also, what I say, an old soul. You have a lot of wisdom. And you've had a lot of wisdom, even as a child, to where just because biologically you're young doesn't mean your brain can't handle it. And you can't train now to have that wisdom and enlightenment. So I always make that distinction in terms of I've had the privilege to work with very, very old souls. And I believe in reincarnation, spiritual stuff. I mean, children that are highly spiritual and have a sixth sense like I did. And it's profound to hear some of the things that they tell me that they're too afraid to tell their parents when I'm teaching them horseback riding lessons. It's amazing. I was that child. You were that child. Like, you had thoughts that are deeper early on. And that is something. That is something. Especially for the listeners, this isn't for everybody. But I want to separate. Age has nothing to do with anything. It's the soul. It's the soul. And so I love that you were saying you were searching. So we're still talking. So here you are, and it wasn't working. But it was weird because you had a coach that you hired, but you'd still connect with me. Right? So then can you see what was it? Because you hired the coach. I mean, technically you didn't need to talk to me.
Well, yeah, I guess, at some level, obviously I appreciated your approach to our conversations all the time. And, it was one of those things where I always wanted to maintain the relationship. So I would always check in with you. It might be a month or two here or there, but it was one of those things where I wanted to, stay in contact with you because I appreciated having that kind of like no BS person around, because I would always feel refreshed after we talk. Right? I'm like, wow, like I kind of felt like I got chewed out there a little bit, but that feels good. Like I know what I need to do now. Like I realized where I messed up, or maybe where I wasn't going, along the path right, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that was nice. It was refreshing. And so I'm like, wow, what if I could have that around me all the time?
Right. And then I had to call you on that.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I had to call you on that. But I'm laughing because I think of every coach that said things to me that I was just like, I hate you. I was like, F you. And publicly. In seminars, I was in front of the room bawling my eyes out. And I was just like, oh my God, I just want to whack you right now. And I hope I don't get my long fingernails in your eyes, by swapping you across the face. And then but the thing was, that was the initial thing. But then I was like, oh my God, he's right. Oh my God, she's right. And they were harsh, I was nice about it, even though you felt like I just chewed you out. No. I had people hang the phone up on me, use the F word. And I was just like, they wouldn't call me that. They would just be like, your life is effed up. Do something effing about it. Like, I'm tired of hearing your victim crap is really what they were saying. And I heard that, and it worked. I can tell you point blank, it works. Because I was smart enough to pick up on the energy behind it. And it works. It's a tough love approach, and it's just accountability. The words are really irrelevant. It's the energy behind it. And I believe you picked up on the energy.
I did, yeah.
Because I remember what I said. Oh, what are we doing here? You're telling me the exact same story you told me like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, right? Welcome to the training that I could have, I had to train to even say that, to speak up. And thank goodness I trained for it, because it has people choose on a very profound level, like deeper than just like, okay, if you really want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you got to face your crap. Okay, that's good. But this is so effective that it actually has people, that I work with in my volunteer work at the addiction center, to have these women not kill themselves, like 2 to the back of the head, like pow, pow. And I'm just like, oh my God. It's a little like, ugh, do I say something? Do I not say something? Oh no, I'm saying something. But I'm saying it in a way that energetically they get that I have their best interest at heart. And it was not personal. And so, okay, so now let's cut to the objective reality. What was happening in your life at the time? I have my point of view, I have my facts, but in terms of job, career, money, where you were and where you weren't, objectively speaking, what was happening?
So, I was I was in a position where I wanted to level up in my role at the company that I was at. And I also had a real estate business on the side. We were pretty active at the moment, so I was spending a lot of time going over deals and submitting offers and stuff like that. And I wanted to get to the next level. And so objectively speaking, I was traveling a lot. When I was home, I was doing, networking meetings. I would say I'm pretty busy. I was pretty busy.
Okay, but go back to the leveling up.
Yeah, so the leveling up, I wanted to, so the role I was in, I could go to a level 2 in that role, which obviously would be an increase in pay. And so I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And before I got into formal coaching with you, I was telling you that, and I think you asked something like, well, have you filled out the application? And I was like, well, no. And so I think that at the time, I think that's kind of where we started.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even fill out the application. I had no confidence in myself. In my objective reality, I was receiving compliment after compliment from the clients that I was visiting and dealing with. I had every reason to fill out the level up form or the application. But I was in such fear that I wasn't good enough and that I just wasn't performing, or it wasn't worth it. Or that I wasn't worth it.
Right, but were you actually conscious of that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
Exactly.
No. It was one of those things where I was kind of all over the place, shiny object syndrome. I would talk about it, wouldn't really do the work for it, type of thing.
Yeah, so you had the application. It was a pretty much position A leveling up to B. Is that correct? Yeah. And so you had the application. So correct me if I have the facts wrong. or they're not accurate, but I remember asking you about it, and you said, no, I haven't looked at it in about 3 weeks.
Yep.
Right. And then there was actually specifically a question. You got to like question 3 and you had stopped. Like you couldn't answer the question that they were asking. Is that right?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So that's really interesting. And at the time, you didn't know why, though. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah. We just don't know why. We just stopped. We quit. You know,
yeah,
we procrastinate.
Yeah, exactly. I procrastinated because I didn't know how to answer the question because I had no confidence. And the question was really about, it was like, why do you think you should be able to level up to this higher role in your position? And for me, when I first read that and thought in my mind, is I don't know, I guess like whenever I read a question that I need to answer, I think at some level you kind of have in your mind like what the answer might be.
Mm-hmm.
This one I could not. I was scratching and clawing in my head and I couldn't find an answer, which is weird because, objectively speaking, I have all the ammo in the world that I need to show that, I am worthy of this level up.
Yeah, logically.
Right. And I really struggle with that. So what I would do is just not look at it.
Yeah.
Until I thought about it again. I'm like, oh yeah, that application. And then I'd go back and look at it. I'm like, level number 3, like, okay, on something else.
Right.
I didn't want to face it.
Well, and that's exactly what I talked about in the beginning, of this podcast was you were riddled in fear and you didn't even know it. So you had to distract yourself, deflect, procrastinate. You didn't even know you were in fear. So there's no way you could have decisive, logical, rational, critical thinking. It's impossible. And that's what was really going on. You couldn't see the objective reality. It's invisible. And because there was no connection in your mind to the confidence. In a way, you didn't have any right to state those things because you didn't believe in yourself. And that you were second guessing yourself because that's one of your things. You were second guessing yourself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the very phenomenon I speak of, that most human beings have no idea even occurs. And then what I call almost justifiable excuses. You remember those? You didn't look at
yeah. I got a full bucket of them.
Yeah. What was the main excuse?
I was focused on something else.
Yeah. You were focused on traveling, getting to the next destination, making sure that client was satisfied. You were doing your job role. You didn't have time. You were also, I got to hit this networking event. I got to go assess this property. Is that about right?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, almost justifiable. And to the point of, we'll say things, oh, no, I can't do that. My parents are very sickly and elderly, and I gotta care for them. I'm not saying don't care for them. But when you blatantly want something in your own life and you keep using that as a reason why you can't attend to it, and train for it, that's a problem, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And because then at the end of the day, we still don't have ourselves. We don't have a strong sense of ourselves. We don't have our inner identity and our stand for ourself and our convictions for what we desire. That's what we lose there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you couldn't even answer the question. Now let's cut to fast forward. Right, in the coaching, what ends up happening in objective reality? What were you then able to create?
Job offer after job offer after job offer.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'll toot your horn here. Is not only did you get job offers, you got job offers for positions that were so above and beyond leveling up from A to B. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And you're able not only to fill out the application, what else were you able to do? In terms of your resume?
Well, yeah, resume, some 3-year plan. I would say, honestly, having a vision for the future in that role and being able to kind of live in that, and the energy behind what I was doing, that's what I think was way different and something that had really catapulted me.
Right, but you're even having trouble now admitting to your successes, aren't you?
Yeah, I'd say at some level.
Well, I got to chime in here then. Objectively speaking, not only did you finish the application, we totally revamped your resume. Yes? Mm-hmm. And not only that, they weren't just words, that you were able now to have the confidence to back it up. That what you wrote, you felt connected to, that you could stand by it. And in an interview, yes, answer the question. Because you had fears of speaking up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, the application from A to B, you were offered a position by one of the executives to take on a role that is a chief revenue officer. He was seriously contemplating you putting you in a role that you didn't even apply for. Isn't that true?
That is correct, yes.
Uh-huh. And it was a little scary. I mean, now you're like...
It was too good to be true for me when I first saw it.
Yeah, too good to be true. And so we had to train for that too. We have to train for success. But who cares? The point is, you go from can't even fill out a questionnaire application. You're already hired by the company. This is so crazy, right? You're already hired by the company. It was an easy A to B level up, right? And this coaching's intense, but it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You were so profoundly, and it took months and months to get to that.
It did. And one thing that I think was really interesting that we worked on was really living into the words.
Yeah.
That I used to describe myself, and having that confidence to stand behind those words.
Yeah.
That was something that I'd never thought about or ever looked into. Mm-hmm. And it makes so much sense now.
Exactly. And then, of course, you kept failing your way to the next success and the next success. That's how we do it. In other words, then you had to go into the interview, and then you weren't able to answer some of those questions or speak up for yourself. So then we're like, okay, well, let's tweak it. But in the coaching, you got the courage to even show up. You got the confidence, the courage, yes, the stamina, the endurance to show up. And then fail in the realm of performance, to fail. And that's what we're so deathly afraid of, is to show up and fail over and over again. I had to quit horseback riding. I had no other choice at the time because I was so devastated and I felt like such a loser and a failure. I couldn't go to my next horse show, and I was only 12 years old. And that set precedent. That was it for me. That was hardwired into my brain, backed by neuronal patterns, and boom. Every time something, the too good to be true happened, I defaulted. I failed. I quit. I stopped. Because I couldn't withstand going and failing again in the next show. Like, get over just one jump and walk out of the ring on top of my horse. And then get to the next show and go 2 jumps. And then walk out and do it again. Till finally I would hit all 6 jumps, all 7 jumps. I didn't have it. It's the same thing as a dancer. I auditioned, I made it. Too good to be true, couldn't sustain it. I couldn't make it to the next audition. And I had, especially having the reputation of being one of hundreds chosen for the hip hop team, for Reebok, and I couldn't show up, and I sabotaged it. And so that's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So in objective reality, I mean, how exciting. Like right now, you get offered a position that is like the chief revenue officer. That's completely, well, you had the experience through your real estate, so that was great. But to get offered a position, a high-level position like that, yes, you sabotaged it, but get that you got the position offer. And we have it in a court of law. We can provide the evidence in an email. Oh, and let's talk about your email communications. Do you remember that first email you wrote?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Low energy. Mm-hmm. I would say it was you could tell I was very shy, reserved, like I wasn't speaking up for what I really believed in and who I really was in objective reality. I was communicating with people that from the same company, but they had never met me before. I worked for a big company, and so how was I to make an impression on these guys with such a reserved approach? Which, initially having gone through that, I'm so thankful that I came to you when we had like a session where we reworked those things and really assessed what was really going on. Because I never realized, obviously doing a before and after in hindsight, it's like night and day difference from where I was then to where I am now. But, in the moment, I was like, I'm doing the best I can. This is what I got.
Yeah. So I'm going to go down all the things, okay? And then you got to think which one really stands out, like the before and after, because we can go on for days on every little thing. But that was the biggest thing, right? You came in looking for more money, more prestige, right? An entrepreneurial career. You had no idea you signed up to have a very powerful, confident inner self that regardless of your circumstances, you can navigate through. And then on top of it, get to pick and choose and live life on your terms. Not to mention passion. Okay, the little puppy, I got to go get her for a second. But I'm going to let you, right? I want you to look at the things. So there was a job. You got offered an objective reality. Your communication went from 2 sentences. Hi, my name is Kris Kolstad, and I am applying for, right? That email, which we have, versus the correspondences, all the job offers you have gotten, like, in your 3-year plan. People can't even write their 3-month plan, let alone you were asked by another person. Talk about that. A president of a company, an owner of a company came to you and offered you a job. Yes? And asked you to write a 3-year plan. So give the before snapshot.
So I would say before I was, obviously timid, reserved. I wouldn't really speak up. And then when I met this gentleman, I really just kind of let go of feeling like I needed to make an impression on other people. And just kind of let things flow, right? Like I didn't think too much. I just reacted. And I was in such a good place at the time that it just flowed so well, and this guy could really see that there was something more going on. And so, he started asking more inquisitive questions. We started talking about, how I journal all the time. He had a journal too. It was so funny. He carries his with him all the time. And, I had mine in my bag, and I whipped it out real quick, and we started talking about journaling, and then I spoke about the coaching, and that to him was all he needed. From there, it was like, we need this guy on our team. What can we do to get him on the team? And then, he had to look at, well, Kris, what is it that you want? So based on my explanation to him what I wanted, he said, okay, we'll create a 3-year plan for what you think that looks like if you were to work for me. So I did that, and, we had some back and forth. It ended up not working out.
Well, let's talk about why it didn't work out. First, it didn't work out because it wasn't your number one passion, burning desire, obsession. Yes or no?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. We went through that as an exercise, the 3-year plan. At some level, you knew it wasn't an ideal match. But as your coach, I had you do the drill, which is, we're doing that 3-year plan.
Yeah, that was great practice.
Yeah. And he's still wanting to hire you to this day because you, in fact, through the coaching, realized it was not your most ideal, passionate match. Correct?
Correct. Beyond, like, the conversations that I've had with that gentleman in particular have been so profound that it's one of those things that he honestly treats me like a son.
Yeah.
And no joke, has, I don't know, like, I've had those interactions with him where he hugs me and he's like, he just has that smile on his face and you just know.
Yeah. Yeah. He's so enthralled by your beingness is what you've been training for this whole time. You're a magnet. You initially were like a great person, but he made the decision through the coaching. Would you agree that in your beingness and your confidence and training for it, he knew he wanted you to work for him and with him?
Yes.
Right? Welcome to my world.
Right.
Of being recruited over and over again. But if we do not have clarity, we will say yes to things that aren't in alignment with our highest, best, truest, purest self. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah.
For many different reasons. But it wasn't an ideal match, nothing personal. To this day, he still wants to hire you. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
But there were certain things that he could not offer you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was that?
Yes.
It's hard to admit, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you now had the courage and confidence to ask for what you wanted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was also a period of time that we had to go through for me to really see what is it that I really wanted.
Yeah.
Because
that takes a long time.
Yeah, because when we first started coaching, or when I first got into coaching, I didn't know what I wanted, and I thought I did. And it's really interesting to see how I was so all over the place, so jack of all trades, master of none. And I wouldn't even. It took a while before I could, and maybe to this day, sometimes I still struggle with it, really just having one focus. Like, it has to be a constant reminder for me.
Exactly. Welcome to the digital age. Welcome to faux ADD, ADHD. Yeah? In terms of, it's so easy today to stay distracted. As I'm doing my app content, I haven't been on social media at all. No emails. You're lucky. Like, you can't call me. The voicemail's full. Okay. I don't even talk to anybody, including like my best friend I grew up with. If she doesn't catch me at the right time, I can't right now because I'm so hyper focused because I know myself, and I have ADD, low grade ADD. Okay. And so I know that it's so easy for me to be distracted, that I have to do everything I can to stay hyper-focused. And because I want to. Because I want to fulfill upon my passion. Yeah, it's confronting. It's a struggle. I don't want to sit on my butt and edit videos. But the minute I sit down and watch it, I'm watching my own stuff. And I'm like, that's great. I don't care if anyone likes it or buys it. I'm like so thrilled to know how to add massive content to my audio files because I'm an artist. I'm a creator. And so it's pretty awesome. Then I get to hear myself speak. Imagine that. Before I couldn't even stand listening to myself. I've been on numerous TV shows and all sorts of things. And I was even featured in a design show. I couldn't watch myself because I was too embarrassed. Like I hated seeing myself. Now I listen to my own stuff and I'm like, oh my God, that's right. Oh, that's a good point, Karen. Right? You're like, damn, girl, did you just say that? Damn. God. And then I think, yeah, because I practiced. And then I backed it up with experience. So there are so many things. So how many job offers in the company and outside the company do you think how many is it up to now?
I think 6.
Yeah. And then your own company's wanted to level you up and put you in different areas, like all over the place.
Yes.
Right.
And I have moved to a new role.
Yeah. So you did accept one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is awesome. We're also working on your personality, how you've been raised and trained in the past. We have to honor that and use it for good and not evil so that you have the leverage to call the shots in your life and live it on your terms. You know, so that's, if someone's an entrepreneur, I can't say to an entrepreneur, go get a 9-to-5 job. That will never work. And I can't say someone who has already a corporate position or 9-to-5 job, so to speak, and say, okay, stop everything, quit that job and become an entrepreneur. Can't do that either. That's ridiculous. You know, so it's been a journey. It's been a process. But we're talking, okay, that's just the job thing, right? You have gotten a raise and there's a money thing. But here's the biggest thing. Let's talk physicality, body, mental disease, dis-ease. What were you suffering with in terms of physicality and your self-defense coping mechanism? Like what are the things that you were struggling with emotionally, such as anxiety? You want to talk about your anxiety?
Yeah, I would say that in my entire life, I had always had a low level of anxiety that obviously would spike when I would get around authority figures, and I would really shut down or either get triggered or something would go wrong where I would sabotage myself. Because, growing up, I was always taught you had to respect authority, and authority has power over you because and by authority, I mean, it could be a parent, grandparent, someone who is older than you has that authority over you, and so you should respect them, which I disagree with. Mm-hmm. But what happened was, because I had that ingrained in my mind, I would always feel inferior when I would be around authority. And so that would really trigger me to go to a place of like lack, feel in my mind that I'm not good enough because someone's telling me what to do. And I would definitely struggle with anxiety, with like at some level, some depression, definitely depression when I was in like middle school and some high school. I spent a lot of time alone. And I didn't realize any of this, right? Until like through the coaching, I really took a step back and started analyzing everything. And I'm like, whoa, like this is really profound that I've recognized that, and now we've transformed it. Yeah.
Okay. So you've had issues sleeping, anxiety, yes? You've had symptoms, physical symptoms of your stress. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
yeah. I had an incident happen where I had like food poisoning, something like that. And also kind of like a flu at the same time. Like it was in, I think it was like December of 2017. I got really sick. I didn't feel sick, but my body was really toasted. I had a rash. I was throwing up everywhere. I was running fever. I had the chills. And I look back now and I see that that's all come full circle from my anxiety, my feeling inferior, depression, and the self-sabotage that I caused to myself.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like I had the ability to speak up, or I didn't let myself speak up. And because of that, that I internalize those things, and that builds up emotion.
Yeah, exactly. You're having trouble enjoying your life in the journey. So we're talking health and wellness. Oh, relationships, especially family relationships, your immediate family, your parents, yes, your sister. Mm-hmm. These are the successes that we can go on and on about. Oh,
yeah.
We forgot to even mention you have now on numerous occasions been asked to coach other people.
Yeah.
You want to say anything about that? That's like huge. People have been offering you money because they see such a difference. You've had such a profound impact, which is your biggest fear, not making a difference for other human beings.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and just on the making a difference thing, before I get into people paying, the coaching has allowed me, and this is such a difference in perspective for me. Mm-hmm. Before coaching, I was like, oh, I got to do all the external things, and then, or I got to focus on all these other things. But once I started focusing on myself and really doing that self-development and all that work, just in a casual conversation, people just react differently. People want to be around. People want to hear more of what I have to say. Mm-hmm. And it's not me doing anything extra. All I'm doing is just communicating with somebody. I mean, but my ability to connect on a deeper level with much higher vibration and emotions, people really cling to that because that's something that's real, it's authentic, and they don't often see.
Yeah.
And so I realized that if I just focus on myself, that overflows and impacts other people faster and at a higher, I impact more people by doing that, as opposed to if I'm constantly just seeking people out, because my energy changes when I do that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you can hear in his voice, it's really difficult for him to take all this in. Kris, you're having trouble taking this in. Okay. And do you still have time to go on for a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So let's talk about, you've become highly magnetic. People are offering to pay you. Now, another thing we're going for is sustainability. It's one thing, you're already being asked to coach other people and have them pay you money. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Whether you accept it or not is irrelevant. And you have to have the confidence to sustain and maintain. You're still in training. Yes? Right. It's very high level. So, and you have actually gotten paid to help people, to guide them, to advise them, to counsel them in your sector, in what you're most confident in. You have areas already. That was never happening before, was it? No. Now, here's the thing. The most profound, highest level leaders and successful people in the world, we actually have to learn how to say no more than yes. Do you understand this? That's what you're training for.
And that's what I've had a problem with.
Yeah.
For a long time.
You're having trouble taking this all in. Oh, and let's not even talk about romantic relationships. You just told me the other day in a session, you had this one, we don't name any names, but we have women throwing themselves at you. You have men and women throwing themselves at you for business, but heterosexually, yes. Isn't it true?
Yeah.
You kind of joke. And women of all ages. Remember the one woman you helped, she made you a bracelet and a keychain?
Oh my gosh, yes.
You see how, yeah. Uh-huh.
That, I didn't realize how much of an impact I had on that woman, and just to kind of take it back to relive that moment, all I was doing was training them. I was training her, and then there's some additional staff that I was training on the software that the company I work for provides. So she made me this bracelet, and I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I really appreciate you doing this. And she spelled my name wrong.
Yeah.
But I didn't say anything, right?
Yeah.
Well, she found out that she spelled my name wrong, and she made me another bracelet, and came back and was like very apologetic. I'm like, it's okay. Like, I accept it for what it is. Like, it's not a big deal. I appreciate the gift, and like, I don't know. I was really appreciative, but to her it meant way more than that.
Yeah. So
she was like, I look up to you, and and this, mind you, this woman is like 40 years older than me.
Old enough to be your grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm telling you. You so profound, like that. Was that happening before you started coaching?
No.
I'm sorry, what?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You tell me, okay, we don't want to talk about too many details, but you have women, very attractive women, throwing themselves at you, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit? Don't name names, don't say anything specific. But how does that make you feel?
It feels good because it's coming, like, what is causing those things is true and authentic. Mm-hmm. And it's at my highest vibration. And, that's something that I'm very, I'm not willing to compromise anymore. And, being able to kind of take a stand in that and then live in that, and then for other people to find that attractive, to me, that's like the highest compliment.
Right. So it's not like you didn't have that before coaching where you had, women wanting to date you and be in relationships with you. But what do you notice is different? Has it escalated?
It's really just the energy that I bring to the conversation and how I approach it. Because
no, not you, them. Don't you seem, are they like more blatant than usual or?
Yes.
Okay.
We
already know it's you and the coaching.
Right.
Right. But we want to say before coaching, were they that obvious and this like beside themselves?
No, it was more subtle.
Yeah. Now
it's verbal communication. Now it's, whether that be like physical touch, like someone moving closer to me, whether I'm just having a casual conversation, or so I thought was casual, to hear someone say like, the way you communicate things, it makes me feel like I feel okay. I feel in a better place. And I really appreciate, what you have to say. And this is just in a casual conversation and someone to say like, I want to be around you more.
Yeah. But we're saying they're blatant about it. And romantically, they're like throwing themselves at you, on you. Can we say that?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're, it's hard for you to say, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I say it because welcome to my life. That's why I teach people. How many marriage proposals have I gotten? I don't even want to say. It's like, no, thank you. The one thing I knew, though, in all of that was I could never commit to any one of those ex-boyfriends because I didn't have myself. And at some level I knew that to say no, 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 no. But what we want to get is the magnetism. So your whole world has gone topsy-turvy in a crazy, magnificent way, yes?
Yeah, and honestly, it's a learning process for me every day to adapt to the new.
I know you can't even take it in right now.
Yeah, it's seriously like I have to be very conscious of it because it is very difficult for me because it's so different from
exactly
from where I was before.
Right, and this is training for success, hence the podcast. We actually have to go about it, and you can tell. I know the listeners. You can tell in his voice that he's not even bringing this up. I have to bring it up. It's like, oh my God. And yet that's why I have to bring it up, because we completely forget, and then we don't even have the neuronal patterning to integrate the information. In other words, we have no reference points in the library that is our brain and our memory bank. The memories are too faint. The wiring's too soft right now. So that's why you're having such trouble. And, the weird thing is in the coaching process, we're working on how hard you are on yourself, which is, it's a double-edged sword as overachievers. Overachievers, highly ambitious, determined human beings. We're that way to a fault where it's never enough. It's never enough. And this is why you're missing all the magic in front of you. The world is your oyster, and you have the ability to say thank you, but no thank you in every aspect of your life. Romantic relationships, what's the word? I forget, non-sexual relationships, friendships, all sorts of things. Let's talk about your family, right?
Yeah, I would say that hands down, that's probably been one of the most impactful things with the coaching, has been realizing what my true priorities are in life.
Yeah.
And kind of building from there. So for me, that was building deeper relationships with my family, my parents, my sister. Because before it would, I didn't really feel like we had such a deep relationship. And now it's like, I don't know, it's just all over the place. We're seeing all these breakthroughs in communication, in the love that we have for each other, and actually being able to express that, or express the frustrations we have with each other when we do have them, and be able to work through those things. It's been very powerful. And, to have my parents really want me around more. Not that they didn't want me around before, but it's more obvious.
Yeah.
They're saying it now,
Yeah. They're consistently like throwing themselves at you, so to speak. Do you see this?
Mm-hmm.
That's what ends up happening. I mean, I hated my mother. She was like my arch nemesis, Now she's like my greatest fan. When are you coming to visit? When are you coming to visit? I thought you said you're coming to visit in April. Okay, back off, stalker. No, just kidding. Right? Like, stop stalking me, playa. Okay? Oh, my God. Speaking of which, we're talking about the magnetism. We're talking about what shifts in our beingness. You came to me, you're like, Karen, before coaching, the before was, I want to make more money and I want to be, Mr. Man About Town with the real estate entrepreneurial career, You were playing that, yes?
Yep.
Uh-huh. And I'm like, that's great. You're going to get that. But when you're telling me you're not happy and you're riddled with anxiety and you're having trouble sleeping, and you keep beating yourself up, I call that inner child abuse, Yeah,
that was brutal.
Yeah.
By the way.
That's got to go first.
I was on a tear. There's a gentleman that has such a great perspective of it because he's been kind of in tune with it for the last 2 years. But I would beat myself up really bad, Karen. It was devastating, actually, now that I look back and see just how mean I was to myself.
Yeah.
And the words I would use to just, I would call myself names all the time and put myself down. And, if something didn't go perfectly according to a plan that I wrote out, it was, I was really, like getting beaten for it internally, right? Like my inner child was getting beat up because of it.
Yeah. And that's, the whole phenomenon of the inner child abuse that I speak of. And that's why we have to do this work at some level if we really want to go for it. See, money wasn't going to help you. It would have actually...
No, money would just magnify that.
Exactly. Right? And being Mr. Man About Town, ew.
Yeah.
Now, not to say you're not going to get those things. Oh, that's so on. Okay? That is so on. However, it's never ever about the results, and the destination. It is about the journey. Because God forbid anything should happen all along the way, especially the little blue-green marble imploding, blowing up, knock wood. We're screwed if we're not happy in that moment. And it's a thing. When somebody dies unhappy. You can see it in their face, like I did in my sister's coffin. And then my godmother who died in peace and love. She looked stunningly beautiful in the coffin. I didn't even know it was the same woman who was morbidly obese my entire life. It was my best friend's mother. And I call her my pseudo godmother. Like she was the one I went to when I was in trouble emotionally, which is a lot of the time of my childhood. But what I'm saying is the money will show up inevitably. It's like a no-brainer, but we never see that. We think the money's going to fix it. We think the power, prestige, having the role, being the big man, oh, he owns this and that. We think that's going to make the difference and make us feel better about ourselves, but it's a lie. It's an absolute freaking lie. And I lived it. That's how I know. Lived it. Because that was me going for every bit of external condition, circumstance that would prove that I'm worthy outside of myself, which nearly killed me. That was the biggest thing that led me to such depression and suicide attempts. And so we want to stress that the money's inevitable, but just as a spiritual extension of your genius, of your brilliance, of your happiness, of your beingness, yes? Mm-hmm. And in that, you're already getting the prestige, the power. You're getting the impact. You're getting the influence. You're influencing other people to say, hey, teach me. Hey, talk to me. Hey, help me. Which is something of purpose that you actually desire to have part of your life, is to help impact other people's lives. And that's already happening right now as we speak. It's just your brain has such trouble taking it in. It's too much. It's too good to be true. You're just like, what? No, this cannot be happening. You see this?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And that's why we have to practice it. We have to talk about it. And then I have to be the one to say, hello? Do you remember all these people? I mean, we're talking, this is so funny, we're talking about men, women throwing themselves at you in terms of wanting to be around you. Like this one person who wanted to hire you with a 3-year plan. We joke, right? Like, you're just like, oh my God, I think he's going to adopt me as his son. You know, and we joke, ha ha ha. Exactly, that's what it feels like. And, you know, and it's the whole thing when one of my ex-boyfriends, guitar player, man, he was amazing. He was a guitar player who could jump up on the bar and he was, you know, sexy and he was talented and blah, blah, blah. And there was this realization I had to go through of, you know, Karen, oh my God. It was like, do you know what you have here? He had a stalker too. She scared the crap out of me. But it was like, oh my God, women want to F him and men want to be him. That phenomenon. And you're just like, oh my God. Right? And that's hard to be with somebody like that, but I did it. But that's who you're becoming. That's who we become. We become that quote unquote rock star. And you're becoming that, but not in an egotistical way or, you know, pseudo-narcissistic way. You're becoming that in a humble, magnanimous way. In a powerful, you know, I'm this person, but I don't care what you think. Which is exactly what I'm teaching you, right? Is that it's not an ego feed. It's not a quick fix like a drug high, you know? It is a powerful, oh my God, you're irresistible on every level. And that's what I coach people, to be irresistible in every aspect of their life. But it's pretty amazing, isn't it? And yet your brain has to continue to train for that and memorize that part.
Yes.
Right? And that's what you're training for. Hence, this is why we're doing this podcast. And it's amazing how you can hear it like, oh yeah, you know? Oh my God. You know, over and over again. So we're talking money, and the money has come in fact, yes. Position, yes. Yep. Offers upon offers, yes. Closer to your parents and your sister today than ever before. Isn't that true?
Yeah, mm-hmm. on a whole nother level.
Yeah, like they're blown away by you.
Every day, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Every day.
And they're saying stuff to you that you can't even believe. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Is there any one thing that comes up that you care to share as to the evidence?
I mean,
your sister, yeah.
Yeah, so really it's just, I think just having those conversations, the energy has shifted. So, you know, maybe it was before it was like, hey, I'm proud of you. But now it's like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I'm really proud of you. And it's like the energy shift in the words that they say. Same words, but, you know, the energy behind it is like, you're on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And we don't know how else to acknowledge you other than to say we're proud of you.
Right. But it's like, oh yeah, we're proud of you. Love ya. Right? There's that. And it's like, oh my God, I love you so much. Like you have just completely helped me in this realm.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you can feel that energy.
Yeah, and in the beginning, it was they were kind of resistant to it because they were like, I think it was almost an entitlement type of thing, like, you know, because of the things I was doing, and I was really going for it. For my parents to see that was not something that I think they were going for themselves. And so for them to see that in me, they're like, well, this is kind of weird. Like, why is he doing this? But all along, it was me going for what I wanted, not what they wanted for me, which were two conflicting things.
Exactly. And then now respecting you for it.
Yeah, and now it's like, hey, Kris, do your thing, okay? We know, you know, just do your thing. We're proud of you for whatever you do, and we support you in whatever you do, and you know, we love you, and we're really proud of you. And it's like that, those type of words and the energy behind them has just completely shifted.
Right. And they just can't get enough of you. And it is, you know, there's a fine line there, but the majority of the time, that's what ends up happening. I mean, who doesn't want to be around somebody improving themselves and being the best person they can be to help other people be the best people they can be? Who, unless you're a severe narcissist, psychotic sociopath, right? Psychopath, which is the minority, thank God, is who doesn't want to be around all of that scrumptious deliciousness? You know, so if you love food, do you not want to be around all this amazing food? Like me, it's not food, it's horses. You know, I mean, I love seeing other people's horses. I love riding other people's horses. I love looking at other horses. And I got 5 of my own. Of course, no one's going to be as cute as my mini horse, that's for sure, right? But I can't get enough. Like, who doesn't want to be around the thing that we love the most, that makes us the happiest, that has such a high vibrational energy and frequency? That's ridiculous. And that's who you're becoming. So it's never outside of ourselves, but we are taught to believe the lies, okay? The malicious lies that who we are and what we're all about is outside of ourselves, of what we have and what we do and what we do and what we have. No. Counterintuitive is understanding who we are inside, who we're being on the inside. And that's what you've been training for. So I can't emphasize enough, it's inevitable that the money will show up, and yet it's already happening in reality. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's one of the big things from coaching that I learned is your brain tends to predict. Well, your brain recognizes what's going on in your reality, but it masks that and says, hey, that's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And what we do is we don't realize it until it's too late, right? That whole saying, like, you don't realize what you've got till it's gone. Yes. That whole phenomenon is exactly that right there. And like, you know, like, slap me in the face. That stuff is just like constantly hit me. And every time you bring it up, I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow. How profound.
Yeah, like it's sick. Like good sick. Like, what? This can't even be real. It is surreal. Like it's astronomical. And over again, it happens. And I miss it. I'm like, wing! I was like, what was that? Oh my God. I think that was the money UFO. What's falling on? Right. I guess it's nothing. It's probably more leaves from the tree that I'm going to have to sweep up. Darn it. That's what I think. And I look back, I'm like, oh my God. You know? And again, so the thing is we must meditate, go back, think about, journal on our successes. And even, especially when we're feeling like the results aren't coming in, when we're not achieving what we want to achieve right now, we can't see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it, is to go back and go, wait a second. This does work. Have faith, have trust, keep going. And when we least expect it, it shows up. Yes?
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, and I think that's like, it's the beauty of it, right? It's like, it's when people say, oh, he got lucky. Well, no, he spent years training and the opportunity presented itself for him to perform and do what he's been training for several years, and then boom, there it happens. And then people are like, oh, he's an overnight success, or, you know, it shows up when you least expect it, is what I'm trying to get at with that.
Yeah. And I just had something happen to me yesterday in my volunteering and teaching these women. And I'm telling you, man, it has been tough to the point where I quit. And then they begged me to come back. And I'm like, oh, I can't go back. They don't appreciate me. There's no respect. They're entitled. And I don't, like, why would I go back to that? But then it was up to me to call the shots. It was up to me to say, okay, I will come back on these terms. And I didn't just say yes. So this is the whole thing of, when you're such a high-powered magnet, we're going to have to learn where to say no, which is what you're training for. To say no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, until it's the ideal match. And so
right, exactly.
Yeah. So, and I did not leave on good terms. That's the interesting thing. And I did try to talk to the founder and the CEO and the managing director, but they didn't return my calls. That's okay. They're busy. I let it go. I didn't take it personally. I said, okay, great. Now I have time to get on with my life. When I least expected it, I get the text that says the clients, the women recovering from massive addiction are begging for you to come back. I was like, oh, okay. So then yes, on my terms, and things have to change and we have to have more respect, all of us, including myself, and boom. And all along the way, the founders wanted us to do performances. I've always wanted to go back to performing. Isn't that interesting? And it's been there, but I this is not about forcing, Kris. It's like being the magnet. It comes toward me. And sure enough, just yesterday, she came in during class, the founder. This woman is amazing. And the only reason I chose her organization is because she lives it, breathes it. She exemplifies it. Her story from where she was to where she is today blows my mind. She's a different version of myself, is really what I'm saying. And she has her genius, and she is genius, right, at the organizational part, the business part. And so she comes in, she watches, and she's standing there like, oh my God, she wants to talk to me. And at my first I went, oh no, am I in trouble? And then she's like, oh, I want to tell you that we're thinking about having this particular band show up at our next event, and we want you to perform with the girls. She asked me, yeah, I know. And I'm like, and I've been wanting to perform, and it's been a possibility. I could have asked her at any time, but it's very hard to get a team of dancers together going through rehab. Okay? Just going to say it. And I didn't have the mindset for it to like want to organize it, because that is not my full-time job. Right? So how am I going to manage that? Now she's like, we definitely want you. And she even said, if you can come, we can rehearse all day and I can join you, which I want. I want her to also dance, and I want to get as many other dancers, because this has been a dream of mine to go back and perform and to run my own performances. And now she just asked me yesterday. She goes, I will text you and let you know if the group is confirmed, and then we want to start the rehearsals. Like, you want to start getting them together. And I said, well, it's hard with the women walking back and forth, in and out. She goes, just keep training them, and then we'll just take whoever's available. I said, okay, perfect. So now I'm like, oh my God, she's on board. And now I get to rehearse again. I get to relive. And now I'm professional again, so to speak. And
wow,
so,
that's amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it? When I least expect it. And she sure enough followed through and texted me. She goes, we didn't get the final confirmation, but here's what I know. Oh, I'll be performing again, because I've been already setting up for that outside of it. And I will be teaching dance from the stage again. And I will be doing all of this. And I'm over and over again, I'm asked, where do you teach? Can I take your class outside of this once I emancipate and I get clean and I'm out of the facility? I don't have my dance studio yet. That's been a dream of mine, to have my own dance studio. For fun, right? And I joke, I'm just waiting for the big donor. Yeah, I'm waiting for certain celebrity, amazing artists to get clean and sober to be the donor to the dance studio and to show up and dance for us. I got names, I got things, I got visions in my head. And it's slowly but surely happening when I least expect it. That's the point of this whole thing. And Kris, as my client, you're experiencing this over and over and over again, yes? The magic.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so for me to go back into rehearsals and run the rehearsals, and I so want this founder to also dance with us, is such a profound dream come true that I'm nervous. How amazing is that? I'm nervous to perform again because it's been
awesome.
years and years and years. And I want to teach from the stage. I want to teach gourds and gourds of people, you know, how to just move a little basic movement to music, especially hip hop, which is my jam. But I mean, these are the dreams that happen when we least expect it, just continuing to train for it and be a magnet for it, you know? And then she actually sat down next to me. She was having trouble with her phone. I made some suggestions. She told me about the real estate she just acquired, which blows my mind, which I had mentioned to you, Kris, in one of our sessions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
she's amazing. But that was me. She did the exact same thing in acquiring this property that I did in acquiring my ranch. And I just love being around these type of people with such profound purpose. But, you know, let's just call a spade here. I just want to dance, and I want to perform, and I want to teach others, and I want to make a difference with people that I can go and teach regular dance classes, but I did that. I want to teach people who come from very slight circumstances, who had massive issues. I want to give back in that way now. I'm at that point in my life, and so I get to do that. And it's a win-win proposition. Nobody loses. But again, we're talking about being a magnet for it, having those dreams, seeing it, reliving it, keeping steady the course. And when we want to quit, like right now, I so want to quit this app thing. I'm not going to lie. I'm just like, I can't do this. If my butt gets any number from sitting on my, you know, on my gluteus maximuses, I'm going to, someone's going down right now. And I'm like, you can't quit. And the spirits, my spirit guides and everything around the spiritual aspect are like, you can't quit. It's going to hit and hit big. And even if it doesn't, I know that I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this to fulfill upon my passion, my purpose, and what I've learned. And that's the only reason we want to do it. Not from a fear base, but from a magical, oh my gosh, magic has happened over and over when I least expect it. And I got to remember that, especially when it's tough and we can't see the forest through the trees. Is that right, Kris?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's sum this up here. What would you like to say, you know, to all the people listening, any which way? What are your last words of wisdom?
I would say that the things that you think are outside of yourself are actually inside of yourself. Mm-hmm. That your external world is first created internally. Mm-hmm. And to really take the time to face those things and to really see yourself for who you are and not what you want to see yourself as. Mm. And then from there, building that foundation of recognizing who you are at your base and that what's your reality. From there, you can then build on that. And the progress that you make is, you know, as we go through coaching, right, it becomes effortless, the actions that you take. And then also the level of growth is more exponential than it was prior when you were seeking things externally. And I think in today's day and age, it's needed more than ever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I just think that going for a quick fix with something external sets you up for failure in the long run. And it might not get you in 1 week, 1 year, 2 years, but it will come around if you're constantly seeking things externally. And to put that in perspective, you know, being in a relationship with somebody else, like in a marriage, and that's why you see that the divorce rate so high in America is people are seeking something that they want to get from somebody else,
right?
Not from getting it within and then letting that spill over to somebody. So,
well, that's deep. Where'd you learn that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I actually had a friend who had like a really bad breakup recently, and just put it in perspective, just how attached that person was to their significant other, and how in life, if you can't be happy with yourself and you're constantly seeking that from someone else, you set yourself up for failure because they're no longer in a relationship, and now that person doesn't know what to do with themselves because they constantly sought that attachment and that fulfillment from somebody else and not from themselves.
Right. So you see yourself, the old you in them, don't you?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
More than I want to see,
Yeah. Okay, so let's wrap it up with this whole, what do you think of this going over your acknowledgments? How did it feel for you today to be reminded of your massive magnetism and all the successes that you have achieved?
I love it. It's something that I feel like has to be done because I get so caught up in my day-to-day that I most definitely lose sight of those things, and very quickly at that.
Right.
Because I'm constantly getting feedback from people, and it's not always feedback that I appreciate, or maybe the feedback that I want, but I can very easily miss out on things, especially my accomplishments and acknowledgments.
Yeah, and we have to emphasize, you've at this position that you have now, they all have a review process. But can you see the difference between the before and after of before coaching reviews and the after coaching reviews, like how it's been?
Absolutely.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you see that like hit you? Like, whoa.
I don't know. I think like for the acknowledgments or the feedback from clients to come so unexpectedly and internally at that, to come very unexpectedly, but also the words that are said. So based on the person's personality, like there's a client that I've received feedback from twice that they basically told every higher up that they could get a hold of, like, Kris is a great asset to ABC. We really appreciate what he's done or whatever. That person never gives any compliments. And he even told me that in person.
Yes.
He said, I never do this, but I have to do this for you, man. There's no other way for me to, be of service the way you were to me in the time that we've spent together.
Yeah, that was a difficult client. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one.
Yeah,
right. I had to step into holding myself to a higher standard than I previously did and take accountability and responsibility for those things around me more than I usually do, which was a judgment call on my part that could have so easily gone the exact opposite way.
Right, and before coaching, you would never have said anything.
Not a chance. I would not have approached that client the same way. Exactly.
And that's what we're talking about. It's almost like it's surreal. It doesn't even seem real. Yeah. And, because he was consistently highly critical. He was like the client,
no one wanted to be around.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the genius of this whole thing. And over again. So what was did any of the things that I reminded you of in all your acknowledgments today, there was anyone that was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that?
I gotta think back now.
Like, I'm so glad you brought that up.
I think the women thing I wasn't.
Exactly. I knew it was that was the one. Right? The relationship thing. The women throwing themselves at you.
Yeah.
Right? That was like a little much, yes? I already knew intuitively. I'm glad you said it, though.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I forgot.
That's my point. That's my point. You completely forgot.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, already, and we just talked about it.
I know. And that's what the brain does. Now, granted, I believe it's not your first priority right now.
Right.
Isn't that true? Correct. You're working on yourself right now and building what you'd like to build. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, great. But it's not like I've had clients come to me, men, I want the love of my life. Now, these are men in their 40s ready to get married. So it's like, okay. But that has never been like your top priority from what I gathered. Yep. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And yet something that you're not even looking for is happening. That's what I'm talking about. Bam, drop the mic. Am I right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And that's what I really want to emphasize. It's icing on the cake. And it's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like one ex-boyfriend, like, he just keeps contacting me, and I'm like, no. And I always think, God, dude, really? I want to say that. And then I'm like, no, Karen, you got to just get that you've impacted his life, and, you know, you're a magnet. So, what, you know, get over it. But I'm so angry at first, right? It's like, oh my God, no. I'm not into it, not into him. I wish him all the best. But, like, you know, and I'm not going to lie. You had your chance. You blew it, you know? But would have been a long-term thing? No, never. But what we want to get is represencing those things, you know, so that just gives you the confidence to know when you're ready that that's going to be a cakewalk, pretty much. Yeah. It's going to be effortless. Mm-hmm. And then the thing you're going to have trouble with more is no thank you, no thank you.
Right.
You know, that's the rock star thing. I've lived it. I mean, I've lived it myself in a way. It's harder to take in, but being with men, especially my professional baseball player, when the women are lining up out of the, you know, in the stadium, I was just like, what? Oh no, I can't do this. You know, that's part of the deal.
Right.
Everything has its price and its cost. But that's to live in and acknowledge yourself like, wow, this stuff works. I'm loving this. Hey, it's nice to be wanted, isn't it? But it doesn't make or break me. It doesn't define me. That's the power. That makes sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, congratulations. That's awesome. Thank you all for listening. Kris, for yourself now, the last thing. You know, you like to help others, but you have trouble taking this in. I want you, what is a thing out of what we've talked about today that you would acknowledge yourself for to be, and quote unquote, borderline brag about in a healthy, humble way? Is there any one thing that you'd like to say?
Brag about?
Yeah. That you're proud of yourself for?
Definitely my commitment to the coaching and to myself.
Uh-huh.
And my ability to face my reality. Because I know now that I know the struggle that it takes to get to this point, but I also know that I've pushed myself past where I used to stop myself. We've had this conversation plenty of times.
Yeah, you're
regarding like baseball, right? Yeah. Exactly. I've pushed myself past that point, and I've continued to get up and go after it, and continue to do the self-development and really understand who I am and what's my reality. Because I used to hide behind a facade that I would create, and being able to face that has allowed me to be so much more powerful.
Yeah. And
I would say if I was to brag about anything, that would be what it would be about, is my ability to face my own reality now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, that baseball thing, that sabotaging mechanism stopped you from pursuing a possible baseball career. Isn't that true? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's tragic.
Yeah,
that's tragic. You were so close. You know, that's another story for another day, but to get that's what you're talking about, aren't you? That what had you stop and sabotage that potential baseball career, you now have come past that point, and you can see that you're not going to stop yourself again and miss a chance at the metaphoric major leagues of life. Is that correct?
That is correct. Mm-hmm. And now it's the Olympics of life.
Yeah. Because that's
no longer the major leagues.
And you got that from me, because my saying is I coach the Olympians of life. Mm-hmm. Yep. I have, leveled myself up to coach the Olympic mental performance in terms of life. Of course, I could still coach Olympic athletes. I believe that is all part of the deal. However, we're really talking about the game changers, the game transformers in the world. And, and that's what you're talking about. So congratulations. You're amazing. I know you'll be on again. I just want to acknowledge you and totally double high five you, so to speak. Woo, woo. In terms of being willing to show up, share, the before and after, the good, bad, and ugly to get where you are. And I love what you, powerfully bragged about. that I'd have to say the same thing. That the thing I can be most proud of is my willingness to go back and see what was so broken, so that I didn't make the same mistakes and stop myself from my greatest passions that I had more talent in than ever, that I was actually gifted in. Not only was I passionate, I was gifted. And I stopped myself early on numerous occasions looking back at my life, and I no longer choose to do that. I no longer choose to sabotage myself. And the biggest thing we can do is go back and go, wait, what did I accomplish? Without getting the offer, getting things that you never expected. Focus on that, all the accolades, and keep going. And when it really seems like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore, all the more to go back and go, okay, what right in front of you has been the greatest miracle and blessing, and focus on that. And then little by little going back, okay, it's worth it. Okay, it has worked. I just forgot because I was in the fear of it not working. And that's how we do it. Okay, so thank you so much. Say again.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. How did you hear it?
Well, we just need that reminder, because if we allow ourselves to go down that road, then it's going to take that much. The longer we let ourselves go on that road, the longer it's going to take for us to get back. But the quickest way back is to recognize the things that we have accomplished and how awesome we really are. Even if in this moment you don't feel that awesome, it's the ability to see what you're able to create in your potential.
Yeah, exactly. And focusing on, it's great to be asked to perform again and be on the stage again. I love that. But then I really focus more on, wow, it's been so worth it for 3 years and have to put up with all this stuff and face myself and all of it. And I really focus on that, and the performing comes, but it's more of, wow, what it took for me to do this again and to rebuild it from nothing, from actually stopping to dancing to back to performing. That's amazing. I get to relive something better than ever that I wanted to do since high school, and so how magical is that? So yeah. So it's pretty exciting. Thank you all. We're going to keep doing this. Do this for yourself. Go back and acknowledge yourself. Fixate. Focus on, what did work and what it took for you to have it work, regardless of whether it's still in play or not. See, that's where we mess ourselves up, is we focus on, oh, but wait, I didn't make, that relationship broke up. No, they had the courage to even try a relationship, where a lot of people just quit altogether. Focusing on what did work. Okay, thank you all. You are magnificent. Thank you for your commitment to evolving consciousness and really digging deep and healing those childhood wounds and really having the most incredible, loving, unconditionally loving relationship with self, with inner child. And that's what's going to do it. And everything else is icing on the cake. And then the bottom line, Kris, is what we're really talking about is you're training for maintainable, sustainable happiness, fulfillment, peace, yes? Power, confidence, purpose, legacy. And that's what you're really training for. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this, because it's the most meaningful, fulfilling thing on the planet to have this amazing connection to self and not be at the effect of anything happening outside of ourselves, good, bad, or otherwise. Okay, thanks you all for listening. You're awesome. Woo woo, Kris. I'm out of words to say how freaking rock star you are. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.